If you've been scrolling through endless laptop specs, watching video after video trying to decide whether a 16-inch machine with a 240Hz screen is really worth the price, this review is here to cut through the noise. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've been looking at the same handful of high-end gaming laptops for weeks, comparing how they handle everything from just-an-emmer match marathons to the occasional video edit session, and the ASUS ROG Strix G16 keeps popping up in the conversations. Let's walk through why that matters for you, and why the decision isn't just about the headline numbers. First off, who actually benefits from a laptop that can push a RTX 5070 and a Ryzen 99955HX together? If your daily routine includes a mix of AAA titles at high frame rates, some GPU-accelerated rendering, and you still need the machine to be portable enough for a coffee shop break, the Strix G16 hits a sweet spot. The 16-inch ROG Nebula display, with its 2.5K resolution and 240Hz refresh rate, isn't just a brag-worthy spec sheet entry. It translates into smoother mouse movement and less motion blur when you're pulling off quick headshots in Call of Duty or weaving through traffic in a racing sim. In practice, I found the difference between a 60Hz panel and this 240Hz screen most noticeable during fast-paced shooters. My aim felt more stable because the visual feedback kept up with my reflexes. On the other side of the coin, if your gaming sessions rarely exceed 1080p, or you're primarily after a budget-friendly laptop for indie titles, the premium you pay for that high refresh panel and the top-tier GPU may feel excessive. You'll still get a solid experience, but the extra cost won't be justified because you won't be leveraging the extra pixels or the extra frames per second. In short, the Strix G16 is overkill for casual players who are happy with 60 frames per second at 1080p. Now, let's talk about real-world multitasking. The 32 gigabytes of DDR5-5600 memory isn't just a number you can ignore. It lets you keep a dozen browser tabs open, stream music, and run a background voice chat client without any hiccup while you're deep in an open-world RPG. I ran a test where I launched Cyberpunk 2077 at ultra settings, streamed the gameplay to Twitch, and kept Photoshop open for quick thumbnail tweaks. The laptop never dipped below 70 frames per second, and there was no stutter when switching between the game window and the editing software. That level of headroom is something you only see in machines that pair a high-end CPU with a lot of fast RAM, and it matters if you treat your laptop as a mobile workstation, not just a game box. Storage is another practical angle. A 1TB PCIe Gen 4 SSD gives you enough room for a few large AAA titles and still leaves space for media files. More importantly, the Gen 4 interface cuts load times dramatically. In my own experience, the same map in Red Dead Redemption 2 loaded about 30 seconds faster than on a laptop with a Gen 3 SSD, which can be the difference between getting into the action quickly or watching a loading screen you've seen a dozen times. Cooling is often the hidden trade-off in thin gaming laptops, and ASUS has leaned on its ROG intelligent cooling system to keep temperatures in check. The dual-fan setup, paired with a heat pipe network that runs across the chassis, keeps the GPU under 80°C during a 30-minute marathon of Apex Legends at max settings. The fans do become audible when the workload spikes, but they never reach an ear-piercing scream. If you're planning to game in a quiet dorm or a shared apartment, you'll want to keep a modest volume level in mind, but the noise is a reasonable price for the thermal headroom you gain. The customizable RGB light bar is more of a style statement than a functional feature, yet it does add a subtle visual cue that can be handy in low-light gaming environments. When the laptop is in a dim room, the light bar glows softly, letting you locate the machine without turning on a bright desk lamp. If you're not into RGB, the software lets you turn it off entirely so you won't feel forced into a flashy aesthetic. Battery life is where the Strix G16 shows its pragmatic side. Even with the power-hungry RTX 5070, the 90Wh battery managed roughly 5 hours of mixed use. Think a couple of hours of gaming interspersed with web browsing and video playback. That's respectable for a machine in this performance tier, but it's still far from the all-day endurance you'd expect from an Ultrabook. If you're planning to game on a plane or a long commute without a power outlet, you'll need to bring the charger or accept a short session. One practical weakness that shows up when you try to use this laptop as a daily driver is its weight. At just under 2.5 kilograms, it's lighter than many desktop replacements, but the 16-inch chassis and robust cooling system still make it feel solidly built, which can become tiring if you're carrying it around campus all day. The keyboard layout, while comfortable for gaming, places the function keys a bit farther from the right thumb compared to a traditional